Welcome back to my channel. If you're here joining us live, leave a comment in the chat box and say hi. If you're new here, I'm Vanessa. I'm a YA fantasy, paranormal, and horror writer and book publisher. And on this channel, I talk about books, writing, and all things related to storytelling. And today's live stream is part of my monthly Writing Diversely series. So this is a series I created to help writers learn how to write different diverse characters. So for those of you who don't know, July is Disability Pride Month. And so for today's live stream, I'm chatting with Owen Kent, co-founder of the assistive tech company ATDev. And today we are talking about disability and accessibility and assistive technology. So Owen, do you want to say hi and give a brief introduction about yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. And thank you, Vanessa, for inviting me on the show. It's really an honor to be here. So I'm Owen, and I'm a person with a disability. I have a type of muscular dystrophy, and I am really interested in entrepreneurship and technology, building technology that makes people's lives better, and also expressing yourselves creatively. So yeah, it's really exciting to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining me here today. So before we get started, real quick disclaimer that you guys know who've been on my channel before, I always start with these in my interviews, but I want to remind everyone here that no group is a monolith. So Owen is here graciously sharing with us his experience as someone with a disability who uses assistive devices, and hopefully this will help other writers out there as well. But keep in mind that his experiences do not represent everyone with disability or who
Mhm.
uses assistive tech. So always make sure you do your research and you get sensitivity readers for your stories. So with that said, we can dive into the questions. Um, so the first one I have right now is, can you tell us a bit about your SMA and how it has shaped your path as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good question. So, I, as you said, have SMA, and that means I'm pretty much paralyzed from the neck down. I don't really have any use, of my arms or legs or fingers or anything, and I do pretty much everything with my mouth here, and this joystick, and my voice and my eyes, and yeah, as you may know, SMA is a progressive disease. So when I was younger, I used to have quite a bit more function. I was even able to play the piano a little bit. But as I got older, I got weaker, and to the point where I am now. But I think it's definitely given me a unique perspective on life, and has really created a lot of important problems that are problems to be solved, and hopefully people find value in me, you know, solving some of those problems, and providing solutions. So I think that has kind of been a natural transition into entrepreneurship for me, which is really just solving problems for people for money. I think that's kind of one definition of entrepreneurship. Um, and also just that necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Right. So can you tell us, like, your company is called ATDev, right? So can you
Yeah, ATDev. Yeah,
ATDev?
assistive technology development.
Okay. Can you share with us a bit about your company and what you do, what it is you do? Like,
Yeah,
what does a typical day for you look like?
yeah, absolutely. So the name of our company is Assistive Technology Development, or ATDev for short. And broadly speaking, our mission is to develop technology that enables people to live better lives. And yeah, broadly that means that we develop medical devices for the elderly and the disabled. Um, so our company really started in 2019 when I met my co-founder Todd Roberts through a Craigslist ad. I was living in Berkeley at the time after I had graduated in California, and I was looking for a roommate to rent part of my. Uh, well, I was living in like a warehouse at the time, and so I was looking to rent some of my extra space. And Todd responded, and he was getting his master's degree in exoskeleton engineering at the time, and we really hit it off and found that we both shared a real passion for building assistive technology. And come to find out, I was actually mentoring a course that he was a part of, taught by Dr. Grace O'Connell in the engineering department, designing for the human body, where they bring in people and companies, entrepreneurs to pitch ideas to students to have them solve them over a semester. And I pitched the idea of using robotics to do at-home physical therapy. I have a robotic arm on my chair here from Canova, and I found myself using that to do range of motion and exercises at home. And I thought that was a really interesting use case for robotics, and wanted to learn more and explore that. So that's really where the idea came from. And then we received some grant funding from the National Science Foundation to continue our research. And then ultimately that led to more venture capital funding and some additional grant funding from the NIH as well.
Okay. Wow. So that's interesting. And I would have never thought about that either, as a use case. So, can you talk a bit about that more? And, like, well, first off, can you explain what an exoskeleton is and how that would work with doing the therapy?
Yeah, so there's kind of like a spectrum of what exoskeleton technology can do. Yeah, on one extreme is probably what people imagine when they think of it most, which is like, a full blown Iron Man suit, super soldier type of thing that's really going beyond human abilities. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's assistive exoskeletons, which are, for helping people, walk that maybe couldn't walk otherwise, or, regain some function um, for whatever reason. And so, we aren't particularly interested in, building that super soldier application. We're more interested in building something that, does rehabilitation for people. So, what we're working on is it's basically a powered knee brace. So, you've seen knee braces that attach to your leg, your thigh, and your your calf. But the difference is that ours is powered. It has an actuator at the knee joint that can take people through range of motion exercises, and also provide active resistance. So for doing like strengthening, really what that is that's it enables people to recover from knee surgery or knee injuries. Um, in a new way, and it allows physical therapists to kind of embrace technology and um, be able to provide services remotely, like over the internet.
Mm-hmm. So what, I guess, how do you see that helping um, people with disabilities? So for um, like yourself, can you share any examples of how you used an exoskeleton to for your therapy regime or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I always say that wheelchairs are the exoskeletons of today, um, because they are like robotic devices that enable people to move, and that's really the same thing as an exoskeleton, just has a little bit of a uh, different aesthetic to it. Um, so yeah, I think I'd probably, I think my wheelchair is the exoskeleton I have. But yeah, I do use our robots to do physical therapy, at home.
Mm-hmm. Can you, I know you said vultures are one of the major ones. Uh, can you share a bit about what are some of the features on your chair? I know everyone's chair is a
Yeah,
bit different. So what features do you have that help you?
yeah. So I have a Rovi A3. And I think my favorite feature is the lateral tilt, so I can go like side to side,
Mhm.
which is really great. I also, like I mentioned, have my robotic arm here, which I can use to do do stuff, and yeah, and then, I use pretty much everything with my mouse and head switch. So yeah, it's a pretty cool chair, and I really yeah, I like it a lot, and I use Bluetooth to connect to my phone or my computer, and yeah, that's really how I do everything. I think even being born like 10 years or even like 5 years earlier, I think it's just every day there's new technology that comes out that is really enabling for someone with a disability like mine. And so I'm really excited to, be contributing to that knowledge base, but also to see what things the future will bring too.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I always get excited about seeing as well. It's just like what new tech comes out and how it can
Yeah,
help those with disabilities.
yeah. One of the things I'm really excited about is, um, building like an open research platform for wheelchairs where university students and researchers can interface with the hardware and the electronics on wheelchairs more easily to be able to build things like autonomous driving or coordinated motion. How do you have your wheelchair work in tandem with your robotic arm to carry out, more complicated tasks like opening a door and driving through it at the same time or stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. We just answered this one. I just forgot to put it up on the screen. But let's go to so with the exoskeleton that your company is working on, how do you decide what features are needed or what you'll include in your device?
That's a really good question, and not an easy one. We use a process called customer discovery, where we really interview the people that are the stakeholders in our particular ecosystem. And I think this is something that's applicable to writers as well. When you're writing a book or whatever, you want to know what to include in it. And the way we do that is by doing interviews with people and really figuring out what their problems are and building around that. So for our exoskeleton, we've done a little over like 300 interviews with physicians and physical therapists and patients as well, and also insurers and investors, of course, to talk about what problems they're having, and particularly the physicians and the physical therapists are kind of the driving force for our exoskeleton. And so we really base our feature set around things that are solving real problems for people that are facing today. And also it's kind of to capture the magnitude of the problem as well. Is it a shark bite problem or is it a mosquito bite problem? Mosquito bites are annoying but manageable, while shark bites are fatal. And so if you find a shark bite problem that doesn't have a solution, then that's a good indicator that you might be onto something.
So, speaking of that, then, what have you seen? You said you've done over 300 interviews with patients, therapists, doctors, insurers. What have you seen as sort of the common problem that people report that they're looking for to solve that maybe there isn't something on the market yet available?
Yeah. So, in our particular case, patients generally want more convenient therapy alternatives. Um, Physical therapists are pretty overloaded on time, and don't have a lot of extra time to be, doing things or seeing new patients. Um, and Physicians and kind of the hospital administrators, they're facing some insurance uh, squeezing, I guess, for lack of a better word, where the amount that insurance is paying for certain things is it's tight, right? And so doing everything that you can to be efficient with your healthcare dollars is something that's really very much in alignment with the healthcare industry. And as you know, I'm sure as a fellow wheelchair user, things are just so expensive in the United States and just insurance is just a mess. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of people that are trying to fix that.
Yeah. Um, well, is there, so for your company, are there any other assistive tech devices that you guys are working on currently, or are you just focused on the exoskeleton for now?
Yeah, so we're also, as I mentioned, building um, a development platform for power wheelchairs, with the idea of, kind of shaping that future of, where exoskeletons and wheelchairs, they ultimately merge and are, kind of two sides of the same coin. And the FDA has, signed on to that. The department that manages wheelchairs is the same department that manages exoskeletons. Um, but yeah, I'm really, really personally passionate about building power wheelchairs that are able to do a lot more than is currently available. Um, but that's definitely a bigger problem, and harder in a lot of respects because of the real wide variety of people that need wheelchairs. It's not as simple as just you know knee replacement surgery. But yeah, so that's kind of our next our next project that's in research and development.
For the platform?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Can you, I don't know if this is supposed to be secret or not, or if you can share
Mm-mm.
anything about it, but
Yeah, go ahead.
can you share like uh, like how the platform would work, and like how
Yeah.
what are some use cases people um, how they would use it on a daily basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our goal is to design a wheelchair that's reimbursable by insurance, under the current FDA guidelines. So, it would be no different uh, process wise for an end user to get one of our chairs versus a Invacare or Permobile. Um, but what we want to do is really use um, like more relevant like technology. So like the wheelchairs that you see driving around today are kind of stuck in the 90s or early 2000s in terms of like the components that they're using. Um, so a great example of that is uh, the position of the wheel on the chair. There's no communication between where the wheel is and the computer on the chair. So what that means is that if you wanted to have a autonomous driving chair or something that would be able to say, "Oh, take me to the living room," and the chair would be able to drive you there. On the current technology, it's just really not possible because there's no communication between like the position of the tires and where the user wants to go.
Mhm.
Um, and those components are readily available and used in a lot of projects. Um, yeah, all over, all over the place. And so, but what nobody has done is use those components in a what's called a Group 3 power chair, which is the type of wheelchair that we use for quadriplegic people. Um, and yeah, there's certainly reasons why it hasn't been done before, but um, I think the main reason is just like laziness and not really looking forward. Um, and kind of, there hasn't really been a real demand for this type of thing. But I think that's because people aren't really, they don't know like what could be possible
Right.
if the tech was there.
Right. I I think that makes a great point of like just a lot of times we just don't know what could be possible because until I think when we had talked the first time and you showed me the feature on
Mm.
your chair of the side to
Yeah,
side tilt, I didn't even know that was something that was possible.
right.
That's something I would love to have on my chair. Um,
And you should have it. That's something that just makes me so mad. Is that like, yeah, yeah, people want stuff and they can't get it for
mhm.
whatever reason.
And yeah, and just like in the Facebook group, which is, where we met, where I saw your initial post about asking what sort of features people would want to see in a chair. And I was reading through the comments that others were posting, and I was like, "Yeah, that would be great." And then some folks who were posting that it already exists, and I'm like, "What?
Right.
Really?"
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep.
think just having that awareness and making it more known, especially for people, the people who need these features, having
Yeah.
them know that it does exist and it's out there. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. You go
no,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I also think like the one you were just talking about, having the wheels communicate with the chair so that, you don't even have to use your joystick or anything, or a
Yeah.
head thing, but you can just say, take me to the living room and
Yeah.
basically have a voice activated chair that will take you where you want to
Yeah.
go.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just wheelchairs today are such black boxes. They're just like siloed off, and you can't really do much with them because
Mhm.
the companies that develop them are really yeah, they took a different design philosophy and decided to make things not accessible to people that want to modify things. Um, but we're coming at all of our technology, but the wheelchair in particular from a real different philosophy that's inspired by the open source movement, where people can build on top of our platform, build whatever they want, but what
Mhm.
ultimately is commercialized, that goes through a really strict quality check to make sure that it's safe.
Okay, that's cool. That's really interesting. Um, so you can sort of customize it for whatever you need.
Yes, exactly.
Um, that's cool. It just makes me also wonder just how much is out there that I might not even know about.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Yeah, I just got my this chair. Um, my new chair. I just got it or actually this year, early at the beginning of this year. And until I got my new chair, I didn't even know that they now have a feature, which my new chair, this one has it, that tilts you forward. Um,
Uh, yeah,
so,
I'm sure it's out. Yeah.
yeah, that was another one that I was like, oh, that's super helpful. How did I not know?
Right.
Until now, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, yeah, I know. I completely agree. Want to make wheelchairs sexy again.
Yeah. So let's see. When it, let me see, which question are we on? Okay. So in terms of your company's devices that you are working on, what do you think sets your company's devices apart from others that are on the market today? Um, and how does it address specific needs?
Yeah. So I guess preface we are not currently on the market yet. We are not we have not received FDA sign off on any of our products, so can't technically be marketing them or certainly not selling them. But definitely have some like data that's like really useful, and the number of people that have like used our knee exoskeleton to be able to recover from knee injury. So data is certainly one. We also have some really unique mechanical and software designs that give our device like quite a bit more power in terms of like the density of it and how much it weighs. Um, but I think above all, it's really just our focus on user design, and people really like using our prototypes. Right, they have a lot of pleasure using them. They say it's not as cumbersome as some of the things that they've tried before. So that's really what we tried to do.
Okay. Um, so let's see. What being in this field now for a while, what do you think are the important factors that contribute to successful innovation
Uh,
for accessibility tech?
yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we could do a whole episode on that one. I think. Um, I I think there's a lot of things, and I don't think that it's one thing in particular like that really does it, but really, I think empathy is probably the number one uh, contributor to success. Because when you're trying to identify a problem, in healthcare, which I think, intersects in some way with accessibility, um, you're solving very like uh, human challenges, um, and being able to really identify and empathize with the end user or the person that is actually having their problem be solved by whatever it is you're building, I think is really important. Because if people don't like it, then they won't use it, and it's as simple as that. But also having good like people skills, being able to um, interact with whoever it is to whether that's for raising money or just building out like a team of people is really really important, and communication between team members is something that is yeah an ongoing thing, and I think luckily we so far at least do well communicating, and so I think that's really contributed to our success as well.
Okay, cool. So speaking of intersectionality, could you explain how, um, well, before that, can you explain, I know in your bio, you mentioned biopolitics. So can you explain what you mean by biopolitics and how that relates to disability and the work that you do?
Yeah, so I think biopolitics is probably a million different definitions and a million different people with those million different definitions. Um, but for me, it really is kind of rooted in the idea that it's kind of related to like identity politics, but I think having a disability and also being like really into technology has just made me think a lot about what it means to be a human and also be a human that's really augmented by technology. Yeah, I think that it's yeah, like 50 years ago, someone in my shoes would not be running a company. Yeah, like, definitely from like societal. I think there'd be a lot of ableism, but more than anything, there would be a lot of like just technological barriers to being able to do anything. Um, and so when uh, I started relating that to biopolitics, it's like, kind of the idea of like, how do you like view yourself as like a biological organism, and like kind of my philosophy is that I'm probably a little bit more on like an evolutional spectrum towards humans and machines merging into into like a more symbiotic like organism, which is like kind of sci-fi, but I think that it's true. Like I get my food through like a part in my stomach, and like all my stuff is through my computer and technology. Like, and without that, I'd just be like sitting in bed or whatever, not really able to do anything. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I have to say.
um, yeah, when you said the symbiology of humans and tech, um, again, it brought me back to that image that you talked about in the beginning of the stream of the Iron Man suit,
Yeah,
and
totally.
something like that. And I'm thinking like, wow, it's while it is sci-fi right now, you always wonder like, would we ever get to a day where we see something like that actually happening?
Yeah,
Um, I know a lot of people are still waiting on those flying cars from Back to the Future, which I'm like, what? No, It's okay. I'm still waiting for the self-driving cars to be more accessible.
Yeah.
Because I would love that.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the company Cruise, but they're developing a fully wheelchair accessible autonomous vehicle called the Origin. Um, yeah, Michelle Lee. She's I think paraplegic, who's on their development team, but they're doing some really great work in how to integrate wheelchairs into autonomous vehicles. And I've been helping them out a little bit. I sit on Resna's, and Resna is the Rehabilitation Engineering Society of North America, which is a group of like engineers and academics who set the engineering standards for rehab equipment like wheelchairs. So like, they say the wheelchair has to have this much clearance and it has to be able to withstand this much of an impact to be able to be safe. And so I sit on one of their transportation committees on wheelchairs and transportation, and helping try to figure out what safety standards are needed to integrate the chair into a vehicle autonomously. Um, and I mean, yeah, that's kind of my dream is just to be able to go for 24 hours or 48 hours or a week or whatever it might be, and not need like a caregiver or a nurse or whatever, and just be able to do whatever I need to do based on the right technology I have.
Exactly. Yeah. I've said this multiple times where I'm like, I really want someone to just create a robo caregiver. That's
Yeah,
that would be the dream.
I
And
did.
then, I could 100% live on my own.
I know. And that's why I think it's like, yeah, there shouldn't be anything preventing people that want to do that to do it. I think a lot of people would still want caregivers, and I might too. Um, but to be able to have the option and the freedom, I think it would be really, really meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, so let's see. We've kind of talked about this question already. Let's design. Okay. Let's go with this one. I think is interesting. How do you ensure that the design and development of your devices are inclusive and accessible to a wide range of users, considering the diverse needs and abilities within the disability community?
Yeah. So that's kind of in the user experience and user interface, which is really, really great field to get into if you're into accessibility. There's much like there are standards on the safety of devices. There are also a lot of standards on the accessibility of devices. So a good example is WCAG, which is web accessibility for websites, making them accessible to people that are using screen readers or have low vision or whatever it might be. Um, in the device space, there's not as many standards for accessibility. It's more focused on safety. But what we've been doing is running research groups So having studies where some people have one version of the device and other people have another version, and see how they interact with it and what they like and don't like. Um, some of our versions you use a phone to interact with the device. Some of them you may not. And so, it's really just about collecting data. And, since we're kind of a newer type of product, there aren't really a lot of accessibility standards. But it's super important. And, I think it's an um, ever evolving problem.
Yeah, yeah. Especially with, just such a wide range in abilities and
Yeah,
disabilities.
yeah,
To get one device that can accommodate for all the
yeah.
everything, pretty much.
Oh yeah, that is something that's inherently challenging about uh, designing this space is because people that need wheelchairs, for example, are probably if you imagine like a bell curve of the population's needs, just like humans in general, the people that need wheelchairs are probably like you know a tenth of a percent of that bell curve on like either end of the spectrum. And so, you really can't take advantage of a lot of, economies of scale or anything. So, it's a really, really challenging design space, but really rewarding and has a lot of fun problems.
I'll be interested to see how they use AI to incorporate it into the space and what
Yeah,
they can do with that.
yeah, we're using AI pretty heavily in our products. And um, like that example from earlier about how it's telling the chair to take you somewhere, that's using natural language processing. So where you can, talk to your devices or your chair in a way that you would talk to a human.
Okay. Um, so let's see. My other question was so just what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs with disabilities that are interested in coming into this field?
Yeah. Um, well, you definitely, need to have some like tough, tough skin. Um, get used to rejection. I'm sure as a writer, it's probably similar where you put out a lot of books and
Mhm.
ideas, but not all of them are uh, received in the way that you would want them to be. Um, and also be persistent and tenacious. Yeah, you want to really, not take no for an answer. And, if you really believe in what you're doing, just keep at it and, approach things with a beginner's mind. Try not to get too sold on one idea that you have. Be ready to go back and forth and pivot if you have to. And remember that it's not like an overnight uh, project. Anything that you do is probably like 4 or 5 years of your life. So just be prepared for that.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so looking ahead, um, I know you've talked about plans for the platform that you guys are working on as well. But further than that, looking ahead, what do you see are some of your future goals or aspirations for your company? And are there any projects or initiatives um, that you have ideas about and are excited to work on in the future?
Yeah, well, yeah, we hit on the big one, which is uh, the 24-hour challenge, or basically a robotic caregiver. Um, kind of all of these things, in my mind, are part of that project, and yeah, that's a big research project, and so yeah, we're talking to some uh, people at University of Pittsburgh and Carnegie Mellon and Cornell. I'm trying to put together some research grant funding to be able to look at some of those problems and yeah, hopefully have it out there for people to try. But yeah, I mean, that's really what I'm excited about, and I think that um, I'm on the board of directors of the Center for Independent Living in Berkeley, and my take is that the next wave of independent living is going to be technologically uh, driven rather than socially driven. I think that we've done a lot in terms of the ADA and Medicaid, and these aren't things that are um, I mean, we still have to fight for them and make sure they don't go away, and all that stuff. But I think that there's really going to be a lot of independent living movements that are tied to technology.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm excited to see what that's gonna look like in the future.
Yeah, me too.
Um, so kind of going back to writing a little bit. Um, so you and I both know that how important it is to have good representation of
Mm.
diversity in the media. I'm actually doing another live stream this weekend on an example of not great representation of disability in a show that I love, but
Yeah, which
it's
show is that?
uh, Law and Order Organized Crime.
Ah,
So for
okay.
those that have seen the finale of that one, it does something that I talk about in my book on how to write disabled characters that you should just avoid. So I'm gonna be talking about that this weekend.
Oh, cool. I'm
Um,
excited.
yeah,
I'll stay tuned.
but I wanted to ask you. So, what do you think writers should know when it comes to writing disabled characters, and particularly those that use assistive tech?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Um, well, the first thing that comes to mind is, just spend time with actual people with disabilities to really learn what their lives are like, because they're probably not what you imagine. Um, it's just I thought I was just doing good research. Um, yeah, I got my degree in film, and there was a book by Sid Fields, who was a screenwriting professor at UCLA, and in the book he talked about how you can like use disability. Um, his example was a person with a limp. You can use their physical defect to convey an emotional or mental defect. Kind of have that be a visual like cue of the character, which is obviously uh, you know, horribly ignorant and ableist, and it's not true. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people that probably read that book and you know just absorbed the knowledge and didn't really think about it. But yeah, I mean, I think just be authentic and try to be empathetic as well.
Mm-hmm. Um, and definitely, like you said earlier, uh, talk to people in the community um,
Yeah.
that you're trying to portray. So
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a big one. It's like, how many actors are there that want to be an actor that have a disability or want to be a writer or whatever it is? Just like talk to them.
yeah,
Don't make your own assumptions.
yeah. Which, speaking of which, I recently found out about a company that I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I wish I knew about this when I was younger. Um, but what's it called? I think Ability Entertains, I think, something like that. But it's
Yeah,
basically um, a group that like helps people with disabilities who are performers, they're actors and actresses and singers and performers find help them to find roles in the industry and like when connecting movie studios and TV studios with actors and actresses that have the disability they're showing on screen. um
yeah, absolutely. I
yeah.
think I know. Is that maybe Terry Hartman Squires group?
um I don't know who started the group. I haven't looked into it all that much. I know recently, the past couple weeks, I've gotten email from Ability Job Fair,
Oh
and
yeah.
one of them, the Ability Entertains, I saw was mentioned in one of the emails, and I was looking through it. I haven't had a chance to go deep into their website, but I was looking into their website and I was like, wow, I wish I knew this. I don't know when it was started or anything, but I wish there was a resource like that I knew of when I was younger, when I, was wanting to be an actress.
Yeah.
Because that's something I also talk about in the beginning of my book is because I never saw myself in any roles on TV or in movies, I thought, well, they just don't hire disabled actresses or
Right.
actors.
Well, which is partially true, which
Yeah,
makes like a feedback loop, right? So
yeah,
they don't hire people, so there's no representation, so there's no demand, so there's no need. It's just like a horrible feedback.
hmm yeah. So
Yeah,
I
I
was
think the group I
excited.
was thinking of is called Lights Camera Access.
Light camera access, is that another?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like a similar thing.
okay, cool, cool. Um, and so going along with that, so what you shared what writers should know when it comes to writing these characters. And we kind of touched on this, but what are some other stereotypes or harmful tropes that you think writers should be aware of?
Yeah. Well, there's kind of, I think, like, seems like there's two other kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. You know, one is having the person with a disability be a villain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Darth Vader, I think, is a good example where, you know, he's like, uh, has some, like, he had some disabling events in his life. Uh, and, you know, that gives a bit of a negative reinforcement to uh, adaptive technology. Like, I remember when I was younger, and even still, people like see my chair, which is, you know, all black, and, you know, I think it looks really cool, but people are like, oh, it's like the Vader chair, which is, you know, kind of funny. It's not that bad, but, you know, it's definitely like a little bit, whatever. And then on the other side, it's just, you know, like Tiny Tim, where just, you know, you're like weak and helpless and kind of a symbol of innocence or whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
inspiration. But, you know, the real world's far more complex than that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot of nuance in those two
Now,
extremes.
I thought Breaking Bad was pretty good.
Mm. Oh, I haven't seen Breaking Bad, but I've heard, you know, a lot of people talk about it. So, but I don't know what how the representation is in there
Right.
to speak of, but
Yeah. Yeah. RJ Mitty, he's in it. And, you know, he has cerebral palsy and um, is an actor and is also just a good guy. I met him at one of our events at the Center for Independent Living. We gave him an award for uh, breaking barriers in the entertainment industry. And yeah, I like what he does.
mm-hmm. um, I know I liked. I can't think of it now. Why? There's a show on Netflix that I'm blanking on the name right now, but it has someone. It has a like I think they're preteen going on to teens in the show, and one of the characters, one of the preteen characters, um, has muscular dystrophy, I
Oh,
believe.
really?
It's what she has, and so you know, she's on the show, and we see her with her wheelchair and stuff. I really liked that show and what it does and the portrayal in that, and what was the other one?
I like Rami a lot with Steve Ray.
Okay, I don't think I've heard of Remy.
Yeah,
Um,
it's good. It's a Hulu show. And one of the characters is played by Steve Ray. He's a comedian that uses a wheelchair. I think he has SMA or something similar to it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's also a good guy and really funny.
um, which there's the other show I was thinking of is also on Hulu, I believe,
Oh,
and I think it's called Speech.
oh,
With it has um, uh, a kid who is nonverbal and disabled in a wheelchair, and he has an assistive device he uses to communicate that, he like has a pointer that will point out the words on the device, and it'll
Yeah.
speak it for him. Um, so I thought that show was really interesting, especially because a lot of it, while it is about him and his life, it's also about his relationship with his mom and how like she is super overprotective of him, and just like getting her to like let go of the reins of it and like let him experience things and do things and stuff. Um, and as someone who, you know, my mom has gotten a lot better, but uh, as a kid, when I was younger, was super protective as well. I remember one time, like she, I don't know what age most kids um, start learning to like cook stuff on the stove by themselves.
Yeah.
I think I was probably preteen going into teen, like probably around 13 or so. Uh, she, I know she didn't want me like trying to cook or do anything on the stove because afraid I would, drop something and burn myself and whatever. And I remember when we used to have a babysitter at that time. I One time when she was at work, I made eggs for myself on the stove, and I felt like so accomplished
Mm.
because I finally got to do something she wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
And of course, I did end up like there was a splash a little bit that ended
Yeah.
up on my arm. So I see her concern because I did, technically burn myself a little, but I was still proud of that moment. And so I think about that when I'm like seeing the show and how like this mom on the show, however, she's like way more overprotective than my mom ever was. But
Yeah.
um, it was just interesting to see that dynamic.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Uh, um, so I just have one last question here, and it's just are there any resources that you would suggest for writers wanting to research and learn more about assistive tech or disabilities?
Yeah. I would reach out to like your local Center for Independent Living. Um, there's, I think, 400 of them all across the United States and
Mhm.
abroad too. There are many in other countries, but they're a bit different. Um, and a lot of them have assistive technology programs. The people there are really happy to help anybody that wants to learn more because it's such an important uh, piece of the tech pie, but not a lot of people know about it. So, yeah, people love to help other people, especially in the disability space, I've found. So, yeah, don't be shy and reach out. And yeah, you can also reach out to me anytime. Shoot me an email or on social media or whatever. I'm always happy to chat about any writing or anything really.
Yeah. And for anyone watching or watching the replay, Owen's uh, social media handles are in the description box down below, so you can find his info down there to connect with him. Um, so that was all the questions that I have for today. So thank you so much, Owen, for being here, and thank you for your time, for sharing. I don't think we have any questions for the Q&A session for today, but I just wanted to say thank you for your time. And do you have any final thoughts or final words that you would like to share?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that, Sid. I love your work and love what you're doing. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to hopefully doing it again soon.
Yeah, that would be great. Um, so that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thank you for those of you who joined or are watching the replay of this video. I hope it was helpful and informative to everyone watching, especially if you are writing a disabled character. And if you want to see more of these videos, I have my Writing Diversely playlist linked in the description box below for you to check out. And again, Owen's information and links are down in the description below. And also, I wanted to mention before we end, since July is Disability Pride Month, my book, A Writer's Guide, actually, I should pull it up because I do have that. But my book, A Writer's Guide to Create and Diverse Characters with Disability, is on sale currently for 99 cents on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any platform that you normally get your ebooks from. It will be on sale until the end of the month. So sale ends July 31st. So yeah, make sure to grab a copy of that, especially if you're writing diverse characters. And there is a chapter in there where I kind of touch on assistive technology as well. So check that out. And that is it for today. I will see you all Sunday. Actually, I will see you guys Sunday if you join me for another live stream where I will be talking with author T.A. Beasley. She's been on my Writing Diversity series before. We'll be chatting this Sunday about the Law and Order, SVU, and Organized Crime crossover finales and what they got wrong, in my opinion, with the finale. So join us Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that video. So I will see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.